everyone. Melissa Peng here with the Entrepreneur Source. So happy to be here with Mike Condon of HomeWell Care Services Franchises. Hi.
Hi, Melissa. How are you today?
I am doing very well. Absolutely thrilled to be here with you. So thanks for taking some time. I know that our Entrepreneur Source and HomeWell, we've been working together for a little bit of time now, maybe about a year, I would say.
I think like April will be a year.
Yeah, so a little under a
Yeah.
year, and it's been fantastic and love
Yes.
working with you and the whole team over at Homewell. But I want to, before we dive in
Yeah.
to some of the topics today, wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk to us about your background. I know there's a little diversity there. You have come with a little different spin
Yeah.
than maybe some other people on the franchise development side. So how'd you get here?
Yeah, it's always a fun story to talk about. My path has definitely been one very similar to a lot of the clients that we work with, right? So, I was in the med device world for over 15 years, and I loved it. I loved the healthcare space, and I was really fortunate to have a great corporate career. But like many of the clients that we deal with, you kind of run out of runway, and you look at your life and say, "Hey, could I do this a different way?" And one of the things I love about franchising is there's always that opportunity to look at that. So after a great 15-year career, I looked at myself and my wife and said, how do we pivot? And one of those ways we started to look at franchising. And I was fortunate enough to become a consultant, not with TES, but with another brand. But that's not neither here nor there. But it really got my foot in the door in understanding franchising, understanding the space, and really what we wanted to create. And through that process, my wife and I went ahead and started purchasing franchises in the health and wellness space. And we currently still own and operate a multi-unit franchise brand here in the Detroit, Michigan area. And so for me, it was to the point where it was very similar to a lot of our clients. Tired of the corporate rat race, and how do we exit and find build a path for ourselves. And as we've gone through that journey, I really wasn't planning on joining corporate America again, but I had a tremendous opportunity with somebody I respect very highly in this space. We've had conversations regarding the home healthcare space and the brands, and he kind of presented me an opportunity to get back and give back to franchising. One of the things I love about the space is we're able to help people understand that vision of being their own boss, but also having a system to help them be successful. So I joined the HomeWell team back in July, and it's been a great experience ever since that. So fortunate to experience all walks of life here in franchising.
I love it because you bring so many unique perspectives to the table, especially in the role that you're in, talking to candidates who are experiencing what you did years ago and found your path forward. We talk about income, lifestyle, wealth, and equity. People are like, Melissa, stop talking about it. But it's so important because it's like that you found that. And then what I find also really interesting is you did go back to a corporate, like to a job,
Yeah.
but for probably different reasons than previously.
Yeah, for me it was I missed as a 15-year salesperson. I hate the word sales, but that's what we were and that's what we are, right? So for me, I missed the team atmosphere. I missed the camaraderie that a lot of the corporate side brought to me. I was fortunate enough to work for some very great companies like Johnson and Johnson. That company culture was very important to them. And one of my requirements, as I told my former boss and our CEO, was I wanted to work for people that believed in the same thing I believed in. And to my delight, it has been nothing short of what they told me during the interview process. So it's been a great fit for me more culturally than anything. So I really have the opportunity to marriage both sides of my happy space of still continuing to educate and help people understand the franchise space, and still run another franchise company as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
I love it. And I would love to know from your perspective of, you are a business owner, you're a franchisee as well. And then going back to HomeWell, there had to have been something there that really did speak to you. You touched on it, culture and aligning with beliefs and things like that. But what is there anything specific about HomeWell that really speaks to you as in what they're doing in the industry or what they're doing in franchising? And then also, what about that speaks to clients and candidates?
Yeah, I do believe that. We all know that in the non-medical home care space where we live, there's a lot of options in the franchising world.
Mhm.
Um, I think as a franchisee and my healthcare background, I've personally researched a lot of them because of the interest in the space, and it just I love this space a lot because of my healthcare background. So um, I've had an opportunity to evaluate a lot. What kind of drew me to HomeWell was uh, really the kind of outside the box thinking that our leadership team has brought to the space. Um, Obviously, what we do on a daily basis is very similar from a non-medical companion care side. However, I think more importantly, what we bring, the value that we bring to our franchise owners, is something that we do very well, and it's something we're focused on daily, from the ELT all the way down, even through FranDev. Of when we talk to clients as they go through our discovery process and their education journey with us, it's about taking them. What we say is we're able to back it up on the franchise services side, and I think aligning those two missions is something that our clients, as they go through the journey and then they end up signing with us, we hear that repeatedly, that those two line up, that we didn't talk about something on the front end that we can't deliver on the back end. So as I went through my evaluation journey with HomeWell, that's something that stuck out to me and said, okay, I can believe in this, because as a franchisee and as a consultant in this world before, that doesn't always match up. So I think that's really important to me, that when we talk about recruiting the right type of owners into our franchise, that we can match those two up, so they can have success with us, and we know we can deliver success to them.
Again, that's just it's funny because it's almost like, yeah, of course, you're gonna have
Yeah.
like those two sides talking to each other. No, no,
Yeah.
funny enough,
Yeah.
it's not always like that. And it is really important because, I've talked to other um I forget exactly who it was, but he was speaking about, we actually have our teams like meet to get like we're
Hmm.
on the same page. So
Yeah.
that one team is, and again, it all comes down to client candidate experience,
Yeah.
which we talk about a lot, but I think it's really interesting that that's one way you provide a great client experience, candidate experience,
Yeah.
is what they hear from you, they're going to get it. And you also have that like trust in your own team. What I'm saying to this
Yeah.
candidate, it's going to get delivered.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? And we talk about a lot about that on our same thing. We have a franchise development call with our franchise operations side, right? A weekly call, and we talk about a lot of these things, because the last thing we want to do is mislead anybody. And I think that's very important when you're talking and dealing with people that are choosing to make a huge investment and change their life because of that. And I think we take that, probably, obviously we take it very seriously, but we also want to make sure we're saying the right things that align with what we're delivering on the back end. So that continuity of language across the board is really important to us, and making sure we're delivering on that. Yeah.
And no, I love that. I'm just thinking about our own, like our
Yeah.
own brand. I'm like, do we do that?
Yeah.
And it's is that something that was already in place? Like, how did they get to that point? Is that something that HomeWell said when they began franchising, this is what we want to do, or has it developed over time? Like, how
Yeah,
did
I
that
think it's
come
definitely developed over time.
Yeah.
HomeWell's been through a transition.
Yeah.
2018, we had a new ownership come in. And I think what Bruce, when he came in and he purchased the company, really brought to the table were how to think about franchising as a franchisee, not just a franchisor. What support systems do we need? What type of resources can we bring to them to ensure their success? Now, we all know in franchising, you still got to go out there and do the work. That franchisor's job is not to do the work for you, but to give you every resource to help you be successful. And I think making sure those align when we talk about that in the franchise development side, and talking candidates through the journey, making sure they understand that, but then showing them how we're going to support them to be successful. How those two came together. And I think Bruce and our leadership team, when they came in 2018 and 2019, kind of reformed the company to really, that's the main focus. outside of that. So it's been a nice transition. And I think that's now why you see our company going through this nice growth phase, because those are much more aligned than they ever were, prior to 2018.
That's really cool. And that it also explains a lot of why like Entrepreneur Source and HomeWell just mesh so well together, because you're focused on the franchisees' journey and their
Yeah.
success, and the coaches on our side are focused on their clients' like journey and their
Yeah.
success. So it just pairs up so beautifully. What I find sometimes is franchises, I mean, we all love our brand, and
Mhm.
so it's really easy to get into all the like features and benefits.
Yeah.
And I always say, like how many toppings are on the pizza, or the brand of like cleaning stuff that we're using, and these things, and that's great, but that doesn't speak to a candidate or to a client like, wow, now I know I'm going to be successful because of this laundry list of items.
Yeah.
And so you guys, I do see that as like very actually quite forward thinking, while it's like it is something that maybe shouldn't be, but not everyone does it that way. Like people lead with sometimes that features and benefits laundry list as opposed to here's your
Yeah.
success and how you're going to get there, which will
And
carry.
I do think the important part of when we talk about franchise development as a whole, right? I think
Hmm.
especially working with coaches, and people that are referring their relationship to you, I think one of the most important things we really talk about and we work on with our team is, listen, we want that person to have a great experience, right? We want them to learn. Whether they end up purchasing a HomeWell franchise or not, I'll say is almost irrelevant, because at the end of the day, if they have a great franchising experience and educational experience with us, and they end up not making the decision to purchase a HomeWell, we want them to go back to a TES coach, right, and say, thank you, that was awesome, but for whatever reason it wasn't right for me. What else do you have? And I think that is something that is probably missed a lot in this space from a franchise development side, because we're so focused on, hey, listen, I got to sell so many territories, I got to do that. And from our perspective, it's more about how do we give them a great experience, and if they end up buying, that's awesome. But if they don't, we want them to have that great experience, because there is a franchise probably out there that's right for them at this time. Maybe it's just not ours, and that's okay. And I think being okay with that is probably the hardest part for any salesperson, right? You have a number and yet you want to hit it. Let's be honest. But at the end of the day, that is not the goal, because more times than not, if we do the process and journey the right way, they're probably going to end up staying with us. But if they don't, that's okay too. So again, just thinking about it in a little bit different context, I think is important. And that's how we think about it here at HomeWell, and how we're going to think about it moving forward.
And you mentioned in the beginning too, where with HomeWell, you liked that like more out of the box thinking, if you want to say it that way. And I think just hearing you talk about the way that you approach franchise development, franchisee success, and even looking at just franchising in general definitely speaks to that being out of the box. And it's not necessarily like we have the most out of the box technology and we're doing all of these wild things. It's like these components that are, you're not looking short term, you're looking long term. And I think that actually does set you apart from a lot of other brands who want that quick, like flash in the pan, like sell 100 territories and then we're good to go. But that's not a
no.
recipe.
And I mean, we're in the non-medical home healthcare space. Not everybody wakes up and says, I want to open up a non-medical home care. I mean, that doesn't happen, right? I mean, and if you do, send them our way. We'll be happy to take care of them. But but in all honesty, the opportunity, they have to, a lot of the candidates that go through with us, they didn't think about this. But then they look at it and say, hey, this is an awesome opportunity to provide for my family, build a legacy, whatever their goals are. And are we able to match those? And they end up finding out that, yeah, wow, there's a lot of things that check the box with HomeWell versus, some other concepts that maybe we're looking at. And I think in doing that, our goal is also to give them options, right? And so I know, we had some great success last year with this 0 franchise fee. And, something that says, hey, we're going to kind of put our money where our mouth is, that our support system is going to produce people that have great outcomes, right? So let's give people less reason to go somewhere else, and give them options to buy into our system. We know that franchise fee scares a lot of people. It scared the heck out of me when I was looking at franchises, right? I mean, that's a big check to write, no matter what the amount is. So how do we give people options to feel comfortable to say, I know I can be successful, and as a brand, we know we can deliver on that success.
Yeah, I think that is, I actually had forgotten that you guys do that, and that is a massive thing, because in addition to, I think, when you're working with coaches or whatever, a lot of times people are like, okay, we want to do an incentive, we want to do these different things, but it's about, okay, what actually are you providing for the franchisee?
Right.
That's actually the important thing there. And that will actually bring you, you're gonna be able to work with, I feel like, the ones who maybe you're going to find a great franchisee. Short term, okay, you're not getting the franchise fee, but long term, you're getting someone who, again, you're going to get the royalties. You're
Yeah.
going to have them be successful, great validation,
Correct.
and you're able to bring them into the system. So that is really interesting. When did you guys put that into place?
So we launched that July of last year.
Okay.
It did expire at the end of
Yep.
the year, and we will be bringing it back in a little bit of a different form, but very similar. And as soon as that is rolled out, we'll be happy to announce that, and everybody will know. But it is coming back. As we revamp our FDD this year, but yeah, it's been hugely successful, and again, it just gives people options. That's the goal. We find the right candidate that matches our criteria, and they, we match theirs, and vice versa. And it just gives them options to deploy their capital as they see fit versus how we think it should be used.
No, that's very, very admirable. And then, yeah, it's great. So, and as you were talking, so I have many, many questions, but wanted to just touch on, I always love hearing like stories. Because you are working every day with these people, with these individuals, and yes, they move forward with HomeWell for, I'm sure, many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any kind of example or story that comes to mind of candidates who, again, didn't wake up saying, I want an in-home medical franchise, but through going through the journey, you saw them switch over? And so any examples of what that looked like, and what was it about either the journey that you guys provided, the experience, or HomeWell itself as a brand that really got them to say, yep, I'm ready?
Yeah, we had a gentleman last year. And I'll just use a personal story because I worked with him.
Yeah.
That when I think a lot of people think of home care, there has to be a compassionate side to them. And so, a lot of the people we talk to have that compassion side, but they don't really necessarily understand the business upside of it, right? The opportunity. So, I did work with a gentleman last year out of Virginia, and one of his, our first calls was, listen, I'm working with this coach. I didn't really want to talk to you. But I'm trying to be open-minded, like and not abrasive in any way, but very much like, this isn't what I want to do, but I'm going to do this anyway. And I think, the approach that we try to take with everybody is, again, going back to, I want to give you a great experience and at least show you the opportunity, because now you're going to have a better education at the end of the journey. So, we took them through, I took him through that journey, and by the end, he was like, him and his wife both were, this is the last place we thought we'd end up.
Right.
But because there was this one side of us that do want to give back to the community and want to help. And now we see that there's this business opportunity to really build something special for our children. They want to build a business, and they want to end up being a legacy business for their kids and build that asset. They saw that opportunity, and we were able to kind of show them that is there in this space. So, they ended up signing November, I think it is, and they'll be opening here in 23. And, it's just one of those stories that, again, a lot of people don't think of the space as something they want to do until they really start to understand the opportunity. And so yeah, it was great, but it was definitely, that first call is always, hey, I didn't want to talk to you, but I guess I'm here, so let's talk. So
Right. Right. You're like, no, I love that intro for me. I love that. That's the foot we're starting on
Right,
here.
exactly. Yeah.
I have to persuade you over to my side. No. And I think too is that it's not even the persuading, of someone like, let me make you fall in love with my brand and let me like force feed you
Yeah.
how great the brand is. And just from our conversation today and from what I know of you, again, it's the experience. So the education at the end of it, you don't have to make a decision. You don't have to move forward with HomeWell or whatever the brand may be.
Right.
I'm here to just help you learn about it. And oftentimes, to your point, they end up learning, wow, I actually, yep, this is what I want to do. Which is just probably such a great conversation on the tail end to have when they're like, I never thought I'd be here, but I want to move forward with you guys. And you're like, I love that we went from, I don't really want to do this.
Yes.
I want to.
Well, again, business isn't the shiny object, right? There are a lot of great franchises out there that are new and up and coming that are kind of the next thing. We hear about that all the time. And to your point, kind of like, what's the future like, right? I mean, I think, I reading the Entrepreneur 500, I have it on my desk here. I was browsing through that at how many franchises are out there. And not saying that that's a bad thing, but there's so many choices. How does a candidate narrow it down, right? And I think helping them and where I think we work really well with you guys at TES is, it's about the client. It's about the candidate and their journey. It's not about the destination, so to speak. And I think that's one of the things where we align really well is that mindset with it's about the candidate. It's about getting them in a spot to make a decision, whether it's buying a franchise or not. I think it's giving them clarity. And that's the most important thing as we work with people is how do we give them clarity on a decision, period. And whether that's good or bad for us, that should be the goal.
And again, this is why we do work so well together because, we say 95% of our clients end up, if they do move forward with a business, it's in something they either never would have thought of, to your point, or they would have prematurely dismissed it on their own. And they would have said, no, in-home medical care or dog training or whatever it is. No, I don't want to do that. And so that's why it works so well because coach is able to present something that, hey, this is going to be a little in left field, but I want you to keep an open mind. And then on your side, you kept an open mind, not just saying, okay, you don't want to talk to me? Fine. Right. I'll move on to someone who does. But you had an open mind as well to talk through that and say, hey, I'm just, it is about the education. And so it's just so important on both sides.
Yeah. And you can't make somebody sign a franchise agreement, right?
No.
Like we've all had those candidates that get to the end and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you never hear from them again. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's not the goal. If you make it that far, at least they have a great educational experience with you. Right. And they might come back or they might not. But at the end of the day, we're not holding their feet to the fire saying, if you don't sign A, B, and C, that's just, nobody does that. Or hopefully nobody does that in the franchising space because that's not what it's about. It's scary. It's terrifying to sign on the dotted line and say, I'm going to be a business owner. It is. So how do we give them that great experience so they're confident that they're going to be successful?
And the theme really, as I'm thinking over our conversation and just, which I, love all of it. It's like, how do you make franchising business ownership, but specific to us franchising, like human, you know what I mean? Because I think so many times and in the past, it is kind of that sales mentality of like, let's sell out territory. Let's just get franchise agreements signed, collect franchise fees, and then we move on. I do think that's what it has been. And so now even just our conversation, it's like, okay, how do you make franchising all about like, it's human, it's personable, it's a relationship, it's connectivity, a community. So to your point, the candidates you're talking to, like, connect with that. And see themselves doing that. So that's just kind of what I've gotten.
It's education, right? I think it's education. And I think that really is the driver of everything that we need to do from a franchise development side is if we educate the person well enough, they'll be in a confident position to make a decision. Right. That's it. And so the more content we can give them, the more resources we can give them to help them learn through that journey, I think helps them be better prepared, right, to do that. And just like as you become a business owner, the more prepared you are and the better your business plan, and you're going to be more successful than just trying to fly by the seat of your pants. So we kind of take that same approach with the front end as our owners and our business coaches do on the back end, right? So that's where it aligns pretty well for us, and why we've had such great success over the last few years, and excited about kind of where the future is going. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Some Grant Cardone, 10 exit. Let's go. Yeah, I think one of the things that has popped out to me over the last several years is this concept of passive franchise business ownership. We talk about it a lot in this space because I talk to a lot of candidates that are like, you know, is it semi-absentee? Is it absentee? And I do believe that in any franchise model, or I would say the majority of franchise model, nothing is passive. You have to put effort in, and I think that buzzword of semi-absentee, or hey, we're gonna just give us some money and we're gonna run your franchise for you. I'm not saying it can't work, because there are several models out there that it has worked, and I give them a lot of credit for it. But I think it's a lot harder to execute from the franchisor side than a lot of people realize. So I'm always very cautious of that, and I see that as a trend, because I talk to a lot of coaches and others in the space that's the hot thing, because people want that side hustle or that second income, right? That's a huge thing these days, and with business ownership, it always doesn't work out that well. You got to be careful. And I've learned through my personal experiences with owning businesses, you have to be plugged into a degree. I think you can set up systems and processes where you can get there, and we teach our owners that's where we want them to get. But in the beginning, yeah, it's work. It's a business. You're investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars possibly into something. Make sure it's going to be successful. So I think that's one thing to me that's I'll say a little bit scary about where things are going, is just the concept of passive investments in franchising. But the excitement of it is you get to have those honest conversations. And I think once you talk to those type of people, they really understand that, hey, I have to be active in some form or fashion to be successful. If you don't, put it in the stock market and see what happens. I mean, I think that's kind of what I equate it to, right? Is if you want to just invest it and not think about it, put it in the market and good luck. Let's see what happens. So, that's a trend that I'm hearing a lot lately, and talking with coaches and others in the industry. That's a little bit disturbing to me. And I hope we're being honest with the candidates as they go through, saying it's still a business. You still have to know what's going on, and be cautious of the ones that are telling you that just sit back and you're going to collect a check every month. I don't know. That's a little scary to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that up, because 100% it is. And I don't think we talk about it a lot, because we just say, okay, how can we make the business passive, or how can we make it semi-absentee? And it's like, okay, should we be doing that? Or back to your point, education. Yeah. And maybe someone gets educated and says, okay, well, then I will put in the work, because investing in the stock market didn't really help me the last time, or whatever,
Like, at least last year it didn't, but anyway.
Yeah, like, who knows? It's kind of a toss-up. But here, at least I can control I can control to some extent and take ownership of the career part of it, as opposed to just throwing my investments wherever and hoping something, the market changes or whatever it is. So, anyways, and I don't want to take away too much from what you said, because you said it so well. So we, of course, could chat
yes, this could go on forever.
We'll do a part 2. We'll
awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So thank you so much. It's been lovely. So again, Mike Condon with HomeWell Care Services.
Thanks, Melissa.